So first and foremost, welcome to the MCU. What was it about She-Hulk that made you want to join this space?
Oh, I mean, like, I related so hard to her, and she has such just the very real things that she deals with in terms of her questions about identity, having identity thrust upon her, how she deals with just balancing wanting to work and not doing great in her dating life, and being not having time for her friends. It just felt so real. And also when she's so funny and self-deprecating and kind of a weirdo. And I just read those scripts and I was and the comics, and I was just oh, she's rad. I want to play around with her. And then knowing that Tatiana was going to play her, it was just I felt very lucky to be able to be a part of this.
I love it. I did want to ask about the comics. As someone who has read basically every She-Hulk solo comic, I have my copy of Savage She-Hulk #1 over there on the wall. Were there any specific comics that really jumped out at you in your research process?
Yeah, I mean, Jessica said this before, but I think in the writers' room, they're really influenced by the John Byrne run, and that sort of self-aware, breaking the fourth wall, being able to really be talking to you and kind of know what's up. I think that's a really, and I think that bleeds into even the sense of humor. Obviously, this show is a very contemporary sense of humor, but that was sort of the run that they were most influenced by.
I love it. And then as a director, how was the experience of kind of stepping into the MCU and adding your own flavor and your own style compared to doing the same thing on an existing comedy series?
Oh, I mean, that was the most fun. You sort of you give this, Marvel's so great because they give you this freedom that they give their film, their movie filmmakers. And then you get to have just so much more freedom as on a TV show than I'm even used to having. So it was really wild. It was very fun and very free. The process felt, you would think on something this large, there would be so many cooks in the kitchen, but it felt very, very free. And it felt kind of small, which was not intimate is what I mean, which was really nice.
I love that. And then episode 5, one of my favorite things was all the different character dynamics that we get to see. We get Pug and Nikki, we get Mallory and Jen. Whose dynamic did you have the most fun exploring in episode 5?
Ooh, in episode 5, I really enjoyed Mallory and Jen's relationship, sort of how you see the inroads they make, but not I felt a little more realistic to how two coworkers can forge a friendship. Which I really loved. And then just Nikki and Pug are so fun together. And even just them on set, their shenanigans, you kind of are they're on a little caper. And that's very fun to see. And then also being able to introduce Luke Jacobson. I'm such a fan of Griffin Matthews. He's so talented and he had such a tall order, just kind of steps in and has to become this character. And I thought he did an amazing job.
I love that. I talked to Griffin a while back for The Flight Attendant, and he was amazing. So I completely agree there. This episode also sets up Jen and Titania's iconic rivalry. What was it like to kind of really get to explore that and then kind of poke fun at influencer culture along the way?
Yeah, I thought that, and that's another credit to the writers, the way they deal with Titania as a villain, kind of what the elements they took of her from the comics, and then how they sort of changed that to be a little bit more biting in today's culture. And I thought that was really smart. And I think what Jamila brought to her was so pitch perfect. You're just kind of oh, she's an amalgam of all these different types, but with she plays it with such a deep, I don't know, I feel there is also deep insecurity. I think that's where it really comes from. And I feel that comes out because she is so blinders on, I'm gonna make this other woman the bane of my, I'm gonna be the bane of her existence, and that doesn't happen unless there is insecurity there. And so again, I think there's a skewering of culture, but I feel it comes from a very smart place, and that's obviously all credit to the writers. And then the actors come in and they do so much. There's just so many more layers. It doesn't feel one note, at least to me.
Well, so kind of going off of that, I love this episode's arc for Jen, and I love how she's kind of embracing her superhero name and seemingly getting her costume, and we still have 4 episodes of the show left. What can you tease about kind of where her journey goes next from here?
I mean, I can't, I'm not going to share any spoilers because I think it'll be fun to watch. I think it'll be fun to go on that journey with her. But I think what's beautiful about the show is it's so funny. And then in addition to that, the show is very interested in exploring these very complicated ideas of identity and like, how do you own an identity that's been thrust on you, where at times you like it, but at times makes you feel bad about the other side of yourself. Like, that's a very complicated idea. And I think the show does want to go deep in that way. And so it's very cool.
And then I have to ask about the Daredevil tease at the end of the episode, because I know that's already absolutely breaking the internet. That was so awesome. What was it like to kind of contribute that? We knew Matt was going to be in the show, but seeing him introduced in such a unique way, what was it like to be a part of that?
Oh man, it was so cool. It was very like, you know, you read that in the script and you're like, uh-oh. Now I'm literally like, you read that and you're like, okay, now nobody can touch this script. I'm so afraid that it's going to come out, you know, you're like, okay, how do we shoot this? How do we, you know what I mean? And so it was very fun. And it was that moment that I was like, I better not leave the script anywhere. I have a digital on that iPad. But yeah, that was crazy. I was very happy to be able to contribute a little bit.
I love it. And then what are you most excited to see everyone react to with episode 6 and episode 7, without getting into spoilers, of course?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited. I think where the rest of the season goes is so fun and different, and ideally not what you expect. And so I'm hoping people are like surprised and a little like, oh, they're having some fun with this. So I just keep watching it. I really think it'll be fun. I hope people like it.
Well, I've loved it. You've done such an incredible job. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. And congrats on the show. You guys have done such an incredible job.
Thank you, Jenna, so much.